So, let's get talking about board games. Uh, for the board gaming section, I did my top 6 board games that I played in 2021 that were new to me. So you're not going to be seeing games like Tigris and Euphrates, which a lot of people consider my favorite, or I consider my favorite game, and it's well documented. But these are 6 games that I played for the first time in 2021, and I may have played it quite a few times, as you'll see. One game you won't see featured is probably my favorite 2021 release, which was Oath by Leader Games. That was my number 1 when I did my best games for the quest list on Board Game Quest, and so you won't be seeing that one. But let's get started, because the reason why is because I'd actually played it in 2020. I'd played it at PAX South in an early edition, but I don't think it's changed. It didn't have that many core changes. So we'll start with my number 6 favorite. This is a hidden gem, as many would say. This is Spectaculum by Renner Knizia. And published by Pegasus Spiel. It is almost Reiner's take on cube rails, on stock market manipulation. It's a lot of buy low, sell high, or making gains, or seeing what other people are invested in and making that worse. It uses a fun bag pool mechanic, kind of like you see in German railways, but for the players, and they get to take their turns. It's quick, easy to play, easy to teach. The art is 50-50. I know Sean from Dome is doing a redraw of it, but yeah, it's a fun little one. If you're not like super into heavy economic games, it would be one that I would recommend you check out, because it's pretty simple, plays in like 30 minutes. So yeah. That is my number 6 game I played in 2021. My next one is an obscure Japanese trick taker called Cat in the Box. If you know anything about trick taking games, they're like euchre or hearts or spades or pinochle, games like that. And Cat in the Box is unique in that the cards aren't suited like a traditional deck of cards. They are like just generic numbers, and everyone has a little player card that sits in front of them, and whenever someone says, I'm playing the 6 in a color, it then marks on a little grid that sits in front of the table, and they put their little chit on it and say, yeah, I'm playing the 6 of red, or 6 of yellow. Let's do 6 of yellow. And then everyone has to follow suit by then playing on their little player card the card that they're gonna like match it up to. So if you play the 6 of yellow, and then Marianne, my wife, plays the 4 of yellow, then I can either opt to play the same suit, or I can say I don't have any of yellow, and I can no longer play yellow the rest of the hand, and then I play any other color. For that instance, I'd want to probably play red, because red is Trump, and Trump then just beats everything. It's the best suit. And so you go until you have to, until someone can't follow suit, and it causes a paradox. And then you score based on like an area control if you have a big group in the grid, if you are correct on the number of tricks you think you're going to get. So it's just unique in those aspects. It's kind of trippy that the cards aren't suited, but it's also you have to like manage like when you play what. So Cat in the Box, that is my number 5 favorite game I played in 2021. My number 4 is Albridge is Burning from GMT Games. This is a war game in the Counterinsurgency series, also dubbed the Coin series, and it is a 3-player only game where it explores the Finnish Civil War. It's Finnish Civil War. I think that's correct. Finnish Civil War, yeah, I think that's right. And it sees kind of like the main political dynamic you'd see in a like the U.S. structure, like the left, right, and the centralists, and they are trying to vie for the control of the political dynamic of Finland just before World War, or just after, during World War One. You see Germany as an NPC faction, as well as Russia, and they each kind of support their own like political leanings. And so it kind of plays out like a traditional war game, but then you have the moderates who are just kind of like controlling the narrative, like they're trying to spread the news of the conflict, like they're trying to report the news, and they're trying to just like best balance the issues, so then they'll come out on top. It's got some fun dynamics, like getting tanks to help move about Finland, using the NPC factions to help sway the momentum, and I just really like it. It's a fun iteration and probably my favorite coin game I've played thus far. I haven't played a ton of them, but I think it's really cool, and I think the art is very good. I really like 3-player only games, as well as exploring interesting time periods, or interesting conflicts. Kind of like how Maria is the War of Austrian Succession, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. So that's my number 3 favorite board game from 2021 that I played in that year. My number 3 is Kaibai. It is a dusty old Euro. It is a sorry, I need some pineapple juice. The box size is massive. I mean, it doesn't even fit on a Kallax shelf. But it has some fun mechanics. It's from one of the designers of Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. It balances multiple currencies, which is cool. It has, as the Domers would call it, shared incentives, common space. So you can like go to different islands and trade with those islands, and that'll get you points, but that also gives them like money. So it's like this weird balance. Or I actually think it's the opposite. You get money, they get points. And then those can be sold or eaten at festivals. It's got a cool map building element. It's got some mean decisions where you can even like sink other people's ships. It's hard to find, but if you can pick up a copy, it's a really nice mix of Eurogame with cool spatial elements and managing like the economy, scoring points when you can. I think it's really cool and sorely slept on, and who knows if it'll ever get another reprint. So that's my number 3 favorite new to me game from 2021, Kaibai. Number 2 is Clans by Leo Colavini. It is a 2 to 4 player abstract game. It got a reprint in the 2010s called Fae, F-A-E, that uses druids as opposed to this prehistory theme. And it's about tribes that are moving about this land. And you secretly are dealt a color of these these factions. There's red, blue, green, yellow, and I think brown and black maybe. There's I think 7, or I don't remember how many. I know there's 5. There's 5 colors: red, blue, green, yellow, and either brown or black. I can't remember. So then you don't necessarily control that faction. You're able to move things around to score best, but let's say when a zone scores when there are no adjacent zones around it, because then you have to be able to make a legal move where pieces move from one area to the next, and they have to be able to group up with another one. When one is isolated, it's going to score. And it scores if, let's say, there's a blue, 2 yellow, and a green. So all 4 of those are going to score 4 points. It doesn't matter that yellow had more. It doesn't matter that there's, that's the only thing. all three of those colors score 4 points. So you're trying to find your best way to get a lot of pieces into a zone. But if there are all five colors, then the ones that don't have duplicates are removed. So it kind of like it could be a mean move and a strategic move to remove those, or to move things to where it's going to score only for your color. And so you're doing that, and then as the game goes, there are certain zones that are going to score a bonus point, and certain zones, based on the terrain, that aren't going to score anything. And they're going to, if a town or city is formed in those bad terrains, then it just doesn't score at all. So it's just got a really cool element. You're trying to play to your score, but bluff at the same time, but also in a way try to figure out what the other players are, and then eventually you're going to try and figure that out and then score best in your ability. So it's easy to find because it had 2 printings. It had a recent printing, and I definitely think it's worth it. It works at all player counts, and yeah, I definitely recommend Clans. It's my number 2 favorite board game I played in 2021. My number 1 is Teach You. Teach You was an easy pick for this because the Dads on a Map community is pretty obsessed with Teach You. It is a trick-taking, ladder-climbing game because you're trying to shed your cards first. You play in tricks that are, if I play a full house, you need to know, your poker terminology. If I play a full house, then everyone has to follow suit with only playing full houses, and you have to play a better one than mine. So if I play 2s full of 3s, then you can play 5s full of 6s, or kings full of 3s, things like that. And it has some fun dynamics because it's a partner-based game, so you have to have trust. You have to know when to play to your partner or when to play for yourself. It's got some cool scoring because you can either play a traditional hand where 5s, 10s, and kings are worth points, of the traditional face cards, because it uses a main deck of cards and it has 4 unique cards. The dragon, as you see on the cover, the phoenix, the mahjong or the sparrow, or the dog. And so some of those cards, like the phoenix and the dragon, are worth negative 25 or 25 points and have some unique wrinkles. It's just pretty close to perfect. I think it's one of those. We talked about doing a timeless card game article for Board Game Quest, and that was going to be my number 1. It came out in 1992 and still has a huge following today. It's went through dozens of reprints, dozens of editions. It's just so good. If you have a dedicated group, maybe you and your parents and a sibling, or you, your spouse, and a couple that's your neighbor, and just want to play a game that's could be in rotation all the time, Teach You's the one. This one. Teach You's the one. It's so good. Comes in a small box, and yeah, like I said, it's perfect. So that is my favorite board games of 2021. Let's go ahead and show the full. There's the full list. Pretty nice little group of them. You can see Spectaculum, Cat in the Box, Albridge is Burning, Kaibai, Clans, and Teach You. I'm going to post this on Twitter, and now let's get going with Grapple Dog.